If you're watching this, you're probably a bit like me. Someone who just got quoted about $600 to get their brakes changed on the car and thought, well, how hard can it actually be? So I'm changing the brakes on this Mazda CX-3. And the first thing I did was looked on eBay. eBay's probably the best place you can go to find any kind of car parts, either through some kind of legal trader or someone who's cut it off another car and just trying to flog it for a bit of cash. You can normally find anything on there. So I picked up these brakes for $163, Australian, not American. That would be absolutely criminal. And today I'm going to put them on. So I have found a YouTube video that is an exact copy of this car and tells me exactly how to do it. So when you hear someone talking in the background like this,
so pry bar to separate it too, but I didn't find it.
It's because I don't really know what I'm actually doing. This is the first time I've ever changed brakes in a vehicle, and I thought I'd give it a go. For this job, I have a basic tool set, a jack, 2 jack stands, and I think what's called a brake wrench. It basically pushes the piston back, which I'll cover later on. So the first part you want to do is just take off the wheel. That's pretty self-explanatory. To get to the brake, you have to take off the wheel. Now, once you've taken off the wheel, you will be seeing the brake, and it's got these things called calipers, which is this thing, and it's basically like a crab claw. When you brake, it squeezes together. To make life easier to begin with, I'm going to turn the wheel outwards so that I can actually get access to the brake calipers way easier. So part 1 of taking off this brake is after revealing the brake, there are 2 screws in the back of the brakey bit on the top. They're like the smaller screws, and there's some bigger ones in the back. So the smaller ones you do off first. So these small ones are actually quite easy. It was actually quite difficult for me to begin with, only because if you notice, there's this part that's spinning on the inside, which I don't think it's meant to spin, especially when I'm trying to unscrew it. So I actually had to get a spanner to hold it in place. So it meant that when I actually turned it, it would actually turn the whole thing so it would come out and wouldn't just spin on the spot. And now that it's loose, I can just undo it with my fingers. So now you can remove off the squeezy bit. Now, we're not going to leave the squeezy bit to hang because the brake line that goes to it isn't meant to support this. So what you can get is a bungee cord, or what came with this kit with me, is like this kind of weird little coat hanger thing. And you just hang it up on the suspension so that it just hangs without any issues on the brake line. Right, now with that out of the way, we now have to move on to the main bit, which holds the brakes in place. Now, there's these 2 great big nuts on the back of them, and they are bastards. Like, this was tough as shit to get off. It was so difficult, to the point this happened. Now, thankfully, this spanner actually had the opposite end, which I could do the same job with. And I kind of, instead of just raw trying to white knuckle my way through this thing, just try to gently bash on it so it'd slowly move it and loosen it, because I assume this thing hasn't been shifted in quite a while. And thankfully, that did actually work, because it was actually getting to the point where I was thinking, I'm not going to be able to get this brake part off, and I can't get access to my other car to go and buy another spanner.
Go, baby.
Now you got this off, the brakes are attached to it. The brake pads might just fall out like mine kind of did, or you can just kind of knock them out as well. They will just genuinely come out. We need now get this rotor off. Now, I thought this rotor was bolted on because this was tough. Like, this was not an easy feat, and I don't think you can go at this with soft hands. You almost have to try and smash this off like you're trying to win a prize at a fair. This was a beast. So after you've taken everything off, grab a metal wire brush and just kind of take off a bit of the rust that you can see. Anything kind of on the surface, make sure it's nice and smooth for when you apply it back together again. Now you need to grab your brand new brake rotors and you're going to put them on backwards. The reason for this is you're going to spray both sides with brake cleaner to make sure you take off all of the fluid that's on there during transportation. Make sure you do the backside first so when you put it on the front ways, you can tighten it up a little bit using the nuts already for you to be able to reapply the brakes back onto it. Now what you're going to do is take the caliper part, I think it's the caliper part, the one with the hard bolts on it, and you're going to put that back on and tighten it in. Now you might think at this point, I've not put the new pads on, and that's okay because what you have to do is put the caliper on first, and then you pop the new pads in. They're actually not too hard to fit in there, they take a little bit of work around, and I kind of edged it in a little bit with some smacks, which kind of helped. Not too hard, don't want to damage some brand new pads, but it did help them get into place. Another thing as well, you will notice that the pads will be slightly different. One of them will have these like kind of metal arms on them, and that goes on the back. What that is a squeal sensor, so it alerts you when your brake is really thin and low. And now we're going to move on to the fun part, which is the wrenchy kind of thing, this brand new tool, which is literally $20 off eBay. What you do is you put it between what I would assume is the squeezy bit, and you would start ratcheting it outwards. It will press it all the way out, until it's able to get around the caliper, and then you're going to put it back on top of the caliper and bolt it in on the 2 easy screws we did to begin with. Now, aside from putting the wheel back on, you're basically done. It actually wasn't that hard of a job. I thought going into it, it might be a little bit problematic, maybe a bit scary with the brake line and stuff. But generally, if I were to do it again, which I did immediately afterwards, it took me about 10 minutes to do the other wheel. If I were to break it down, it's basically 2 screws, take it off, 2 screws, take it off, smash the rotor off, put the rotor on, screw, and Bob's your uncle, you're done. It genuinely wasn't that hard of a job. And yes, I did test it, and yes, this is me afterwards, not in an accident, not in any injuries. It worked perfectly fine. The only thing you might notice is when you put your brake down first to begin with, that is going to go all the way to the floor.
All right. Oh no. Oh. Okay, brakes are back. They just literally went to the floor just then.
But then when you do it again, it's just going to come back and be completely normal. If it does just keep going to the floor, maybe speak to a specialist, because I don't know what happens if that happens.
Ready? Brake. Whoa! F***ing hell.
And obviously take some pictures. At Squirrelbox, our best thing that we can offer to you as a user is your ability to be transparent and keep your own DIY paperwork and observations when you make any changes to your vehicle. One of the best things you can do when you sell your vehicle or you do anything to your vehicle is keep it recorded, whether it's receipts, with the service history, or even photos. With Squirrelbox, it makes life so much easier because you can make your vehicle profile, add your service history into it, and even show people the work that was done through photos. Check all of that out at squirrelbox.net. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you the next time something messes up on my vehicle.